And joining us today on In the Spotlight is Jeffrey Siger, an award-winning, recognized, international best-selling American author living on the Greek Aegean island of Mykonos. He gave up his career as a partner in a New York City law firm to write fast-paced mystery thrillers aimed at exploring serious societal issues confronting modern-day Greece while touching upon its ancient past. Welcome to our studio.
Well, thank you, Yanna, and New Greek TV too.
Well, thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
You are a master, you've mastered, and a master known as a master of the mystery genre. Very interesting story. You are an American living in Greece, and you were an attorney. What type of law did you practice?
I practiced in the area of litigation, court work, trial work, that sort of thing.
And so who introduced you to Greece, and why did you end up living there?
I had a friend who said I would love Greece. It was a little over 30 years ago. And she said, let's go there on holiday. And we went, and she was absolutely right. I fell in love with it the moment I stepped off the plane. And I'd have to tell you that I felt as if I'd come home again. I don't know why that was. And when I arrived in Mykonos, I knew I was home again.
Well, many people have that experience when they go to Greece. That's why we like to, inspire people to try to get over there and, discover themselves, because a lot of people say that they've discovered themselves when visiting Greece for some reason. Some sort of awakening happens. And so you decided to stay.
Yes, well, I try every time I can, by the way, to bring more recruits over, but trying to make them love Greece as I do. I've been going there for over 30 years. I've been living there essentially for 10 years, more than I live anywhere else in the world. And I find that it's just captivates you. I mean, you're living in a place where the ancients walked, and when you're standing, let's say, down by the sea, and you're looking across to Delos or someplace, you can say to yourself, my God, I'm in the same place where someone was several thousand years ago. I wonder if they're thinking the same thoughts I'm thinking as they look at the sea. It gives you a real bridge back to the past.
Yes. And so you decided to leave the law firm and become a writer.
Yes.
Tell us about that part of your life.
Well, I had written a book. In fact, I'd written 3 books. They were called drawer novels, items that you think you're going to publish because they're great, but they end up in a drawer. And a friend of mine said, well, if you're really going to be serious about this, you should decide what you want to do. And I came to the conclusion I would not live forever. And as much as I loved the practice of law, I loved Greece more. And so I decided one day that I was just going to give it all up and go and become a writer. My partners at first thought I was crazy. Now they see that they were the ones who were crazy, because I have found a perfect life for myself. I mean, I think it's fair to say writing is a lousy way to make a living, but a wonderful way to make a life.
Yes.
And Greece is the perfect place to do it.
And they say that you tackle untouched subjects, and you've created this character for your series, Inspector Andreas Kalidis. Tell us about your character and his journey.
Well, when I gave up the practice, I decided I was going to write stories that told it like it is. And I do. I don't spare anything, but I don't take cheap shots, which is a bad thing in anything you do in life. As far as Inspector Kalidis, he represents a second-generation cop who has to deal with all of the things that his country and his countrymen throw at him. He has to deal with the difficult politics, the difficult societal issues, and still stay on his own feet and stand up for what he thinks is right. And that's a pretty tough thing to do over there, but he does it. He does it. And I'm very proud of him.
Did you do research on, these type of topics in Greece, the corruption, what's going on?
Yes, very much so. Extensive research. And a lot of it is done in very interesting ways. Mykonos is where I am, and everyone in the Greek community knows what Mykonos is famous for. But what Mykonos is famous for that I took advantage of is that at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in some of these bars that we all know of, people talk a lot. And they tell you stories, and they could be ministers, they could be members of parliament, they could be businessmen. And when they know you're a writer, they want to tell you these interesting stories. And they also know I don't ever disclose the confidences. Right. So the stories I get, you cannot get out of a book.
So they're based on true facts.
Oh, many of them are. I have developed a reputation in the Greek community of being, and I don't know how to say it other than prophetic. My editor calls me Cassandra, because no one listens until it's happened. But no, my second book, Assassins of Athens, talks about a young man who came from a rather well-to-do background. This was written, by the way, 2009. A well-to-do background. He went to university, like many people and kids in those days did. He didn't really graduate, he just hung around. And he recruited among his friends and the disillusioned and brought them together and formed his own entity of people to go out and demonstrate. And they did demonstrate.
An assassin.
And then, in the Assassins of Athens. And then he decided he was going to form his own political party and seize power. Sound familiar?
Very familiar.
That book, in fact, the Greek press said 2 years later, how did this American know this?
Well, let's begin. You had Murder in Mykonos.
Murder in Mykonos is about how a community reacts to a threat to its economic viability. How are they going to overcome the petty jealousies they have? How are they going to come over the immediate, nothing's wrong, when you have a real catastrophe? That was Murder in Mykonos. That became the #1 best-selling English language book in Greece. And it was on a radar list of the New York Times.
Yes.
Second book, Assassins of Athens, the relationship between Greeks and their government. The third, Prey on Patmos, the Greeks and their church.
And a play on words.
And a play on words, exactly. Very good, you got that. The fourth was Targetinos, which is about Greeks and immigration, in which one of the observation was that Greece was the EU's filter trap for immigrants, which is what's come to pass.
And that was written?
That was written 5 years ago.
And what's going on also today.
Exactly. It's absolutely.
Yeah.
That book was picked by the New York Times as one of its 5 picks for the summer of 2012. Then the next was Mykonos After Midnight, which talked about how Greece was being held as a victim to the economic crisis, foreigners coming in trying to profit. The next book, Sons of Sparta, is about Greeks and the family life. It takes place in Amani, which gives it a lot of color and violence.
Yes, of course.
And the newest book, Devil of Delphi, is really anticipating where Greece is headed. And the book that I just finished last night, we'll see.
Well, I mean, during this, these social times of unrest and uncertainty, because this has been a very tough year, what would you write about that today?
What you mean about what's happening right now?
Yes.
I think you talk about a country that's under tremendous stress. It doesn't know which direction to go. It is torn between the general, undeniably strong Greek hospitality, which is its legend for the people really are giving and caring, and the fact that they have to continue to put up with this, they're going to suffer. I mean, you have on Mytilene, Lesbos, you have every day in some instances more people coming in than exist on that island. How can you continue like that? And the EU can't seem to get its act together. There may be now. There have been proposals that have been put forth by friends of mine that would work, that haven't been acted upon either because of the Greek government or the European Union. Something's got to be done. It's the poor people on the ground who are suffering, both the immigrants and the people in Mytilene and Lesbos or other islands who are having to put up with this. I think it's a real crisis.
Yes.
A crisis of confidence in every institution that they have to live with.
So when we get a chance to read your new book, we perhaps might have an insight on the future.
I have to tell you, with the way things have been going over there, it's ready. It keeps catching up with my writing.
Yes.
Several of the things that I had written about have already happened, and so I'm trying to catch up with it. It's a very complicated situation, especially what's happening Sunday.
Yes. And, as a foreigner living in Greece, you do see things in a different light, and you can perhaps foresee some things. And so perhaps this has been the success of your novels. And the Greeks have embraced you. You're an honorary Greek. And one of the things that I think is wonderful about your books is it takes you through a travelogue. It's like as you're reading, you can visualize the beauty of all the locations that you mention. And so you're doing a great service to Greece.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored by the Greeks for the fact that they love me and I love them. But I'm honored for the opportunity to show what Greece is really all about. Each of my books, every single one, no matter how, first of all, it's a fast-paced mystery thriller. But it is also something that's meant to glorify Greece. No matter how violent the story may be, the place is beautiful and it draws people. When I go out on tour, they say, oh, wow, I wish I could go there. I so want to go there. Because it is beautiful. I mean, there is no other place that could serve as a backdrop to my stories than Greece.
It's also been said that you have inspired political change in Greece.
That was very kind. The city of San Francisco honored me and said that. I'm not sure that's quite true. I'm not sure whether. By the way, I'm not sure that's credit or blame these days.
But what do you think you've done through your books to the Greeks and for Greece?
It's so hard to say. I mean, as far as what I did for Greece, I've tried to put it in a perspective that people realize the treasure of a culture that exists there, and how despite all that it has to put up with, the people have to put up with, they still persevere. They still maintain the embracing feelings they have towards the visitor. And they have, of course, responsibilities, deep responsibilities, to shepherd the lands, to preserve them. It's another pet peeve I have, but that has to be done. And if I can have any influence on that, I'm honored to do it. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of people who read it over there who are influential, and some of them sometimes discuss things. Not that I would think that would achieve anything, but right. At least the point is made.
Insight.
The point is made. Yes. You said I have as a visitor, I can see things. I'm not sure why that is. I honestly don't know why it is that I predict these things. It's frightening. It may be because I don't come with the preconceived notions or the biases you have when you're native to a culture.
You're not emotionally attached, and you might be able to see things in a different light.
If I walk into a room and I see someone has a shoe on their ear, I say, that doesn't really belong there. I may not know where it goes, but I know it doesn't belong there.
And you discuss the elephant in the room.
Yes, well, I have to. As I said, I don't pull punches. I say what I want to say. I was on tour recently with two buddies who are great writers. One writes about Thailand, the other writes about Korea. And they made an observation about my writing that I never even noticed. They said they would never dare do what I do. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you write as a Greek in Greece. We write as Americans living in Thailand or there. You're jumping out and saying what the culture is. To me, it seems automatic, second nature to me. I understand the feelings of the people. I relate. I'm part of the family. Greece is more home to me than any other place on earth these days. And so I feel I have to talk about the family. Crazy Uncle Theo, wonderful Aunt Anna, whatever, but I just got to talk about them.
And the Vedetta.
The Vedetta. That's the other story. That's the one in the money.
So how has Greece changed you?
Greece has given me a sense of myself. It has let me realize that you can sit alone, especially if I would be in the middle of the sea, let's say free diving. You're out there, and people do not realize how blue and green that water really is in the Aegean. It really is that way. And the beaches are really that white. And you're out there, and you're saying to yourself, I'm in a different world. I have a continuity to my life now. As I said before, thousands of years ahead of me, and hopefully thousands of years behind me. And I'm right at this moment, at this time, in this place. It is not about a McDonald's burger. It is not about the latest Louis Vuitton bag. It is about this ocean, this time, going out, taking the octopus, whatever it may be, and eating on that shore the same way people did so long ago. It gives you a continuity to your life, and that's all you can ever hope to have.
Well, I mean, we're very proud. You're like a Greek to us, so we're very proud of you. And εμείς ευχαριστούμε. You do a great service to Greece, as we mentioned, and this is wonderful. I'm sure everyone appreciates it. For all you viewers out there, if you have not read Jeffrey Sier's books, please log on to jeffreysiger.com. You can find all his books there, and they'll take you right into Amazon, and run to your bookstore. Mykonos After Midnight, Assassins of Athens, top bestseller. Prey on Patmos, An Aegean Prophecy, Sons of Sparta, and Targetinos, and the latest, Devil of Delphi. Jeffrey, a pleasure. Congratulations, and thank you for bringing so much imagination and thrilling pages into our lives, and of course, featuring Greece.
Yanna, thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to reading more.
My honor.